Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimale in Abuja. Let's tell you that Nigeria is participating in the Global Border Security Summit being hosted in the United Kingdom. Nigeria is showing its dedication in the active participation in that summit and represented the country at a high-level gathering. Nigeria's Minister of Interior, Uromi, joined 39 other global leaders in discussing innovative solutions to tackling illegal migration and transborder crime. The summit, being hosted by the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, emphasizes the increasing global insecurity followed by illegal migration and the urgent need for international cooperation, where the Minister of Interior, Uromi, has been speaking on the sidelines of this very crucial border security summit.
It's about the strategy towards combating the issues. Criminals will always wear their ugly hats, but the responsibility of government to respond, and I think that's what this is about. So this platform has brought us an opportunity for all major stakeholders, regardless of which part of the globe you are from the US to the UK to Europe to Africa to Asia to South America. So about all of us coming together now, seeing it as a joint problem, seeing it as a common problem that needs to be tackled. After all, humanity is our only race, and we must all try, work hard to make sure that we preserve the dignity of humanity.
Nigeria's Minister of Interior, Uromi, engaging in the Global Border Security Summit in London, where about 39 other countries are participating. Now, so much to talk about. We first of all touch down in Edo State, where Edo Governor Monday Okpebolo has been visiting the Edo State governor over the 16 hunters that have been killed in Uromi local government area of the state, and we've been giving you perspectives on what this means, how we can arrest a possible reprisal, and of course dealing with the situation. Of course, we do know that CP retired Friday Ibadan has been suspended, and DSS is already in the situation. We understand that at least about 14 people have been arrested by the police. And what exactly are the root cause of this problem? The Uromi people will complain about killing of their wives and children by bandits and kidnapping. But the jungle justice that was saying on these hunters, where exactly are they coming from? Why did they get into that part? What is their mission? There are a lot of questions begging for answer. Tonight, we'll be dissecting all of these issues for you. But first, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
Former presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 general election, Mr. Peter Obi, has reiterated the call on leadership at all levels to do more in ensuring that internally displaced persons are resettled to resume their normal lives. Mr. Peter Obi visited the Uromi internally displaced persons camp in Abuja as a follow-up to his earlier visit on the 1st of January this year. He laments the continued lack of basic amenities in the camp, like a primary school, a functional health center, with inhabitants living in deplorable conditions. He called on the government and well-meaning Nigerians to come to the aid of the internally displaced persons.
Everybody knows that the most important thing for development is education. And that is all you're not giving them.
The national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, says external forces have been the major cause of the party's recent internal issues. Speaking at a town hall meeting in Edo State, Mr. Abure also expressed confidence in the ability of the party's leadership to take the party to the pinnacle of Nigerian politics. Mr. Abure also welcomed a defector from the People's Democratic Party, Francis Chima.
My greatest joy today is that in spite of all of this, the party has come out stronger, better, and united.
The 2023 governorship candidate of the Labour Party LP in Enugu State, Honorable Chijioke Edoga, has returned to the People's Democratic Party PDP. Mr. Edoga was received by the state party leadership and stakeholders led by the chairman, Mr. Martins Chukwunweke. Mr. Chukwunweke thanked the state governor, Mr. Peter Mba, for his leadership, promising to work with him for the greater good of the Enugu people. The governor of Edo State, Monday Okpebolo, has assured Muslims in the state that his administration will continue to promote policies and programs that will foster peace and unity among people of all faiths. The governor conveyed the message through his deputy, Dennis Idahosa, when he paid host to Muslim faithful who were in Government House, Benin City, to pay the governor Salah homage on this year's Salah celebrations.
During this period that you have fasted for 29 days and the lessons learned during the fasting and prayers, please, let's continue to tolerate one another.
A group under the auspices of the Yoruba Aborigines Progressive Initiative has endorsed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for a second term in office. The chairman of the group, Mr. Olushola Omomulering, explains that members are confident in the president's style of leadership, his vision, and ability to propel Nigeria to greater heights.
Thank you so much, everyone. You've been served with your political roundup stories. So today, Governor Monday Okpebolo of Edo State is in Kano State and has condemned the brutal killing of 16 hunters in Uromi local government area of the state, noting that the attack was barbaric and unacceptable. Governor Okpebolo condemned the act at the government house in Kano, which he led a delegation of his government to the state on a condolence visit to Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf. Governor Okpebolo had already also visited the site of the incident in Uromi and also suspended CP Friday Ibadan, retired, who is the head of the Edo Security Corps. And we understand now there are about 14 people or so have been arrested by the Nigerian police force in their investigation into how these persons were being brutally murdered. Let's get some insight into the implications of this. There are those who are afraid that there might be reprisals. In fact, there are local intelligence to the fact that there are now gatherings of group of people who are planning reprisals, but the police and other security agents are trying to, avert a possible reprisal. But there are those thoughts in people's mind on the different questions. Where were they coming from? How did they get through that route? Is that the right route to their destination? The security, past historic security situation in that area, kidnapping, killings that have been seen, banditry, and that have been complained by locals in that area. That's a very popular area in Edo State. I'm being joined tonight by security expert and a consultant on security for Channels Television, of course, the managing director of Beacon Security Intelligence Limited, Dr. Kabir Adam, is live for us here in our studio. Thank you so much, Dr. Adam, for joining us tonight on the program.
My pleasure.
It brings to mind a lot of issues. And I said to you, Eid Mubarak. Out of this festive season, I'm dragging
Eid Mubarak
you out.
to you as well.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. So one way, it brings a lot of things to mind. And those who are asking questions, rightly or wrongly, it brings to mind how we need to investigate and interrogate what really is the root cause of what has become a massacre. In the definition of it, it's a massacre, killing brutally of many people. But to de-escalate the situation, we like not to call it a massacre on television, just because we know how people are feeling, the emotions that are really getting out of. But from you, I understand that you have an idea of what that terrain is. Perhaps some of the little intelligence that have come up, the investigation that have come up, how would you assess the situation summarily in the first instance?
It's a reflection of the deterioration of public security in the country. It happened on a major highway where you would expect public security would be at the level where issues like this would not be allowed to take place. Tempers were quite high. Just before the incident, there were instances where several officials of the Edo State government at both the state and national level had complained about attacks by so-called armed herders. I have an issue with the labeling of that challenge as well. Perhaps in the course of the conversation we can talk about that. So clearly there was a lot of tension within the state regarding the activities of threat elements, tagged armed herders. From what we know, these travelers came from Rivers State. Purportedly, they went to hunt from Kano State, went there, and then were on their way back home to celebrate the Eid al-Fitr celebrations with their family. And of course, they were stopped, purportedly, after intelligence was received that there were kidnappers moving on that area. And I think from what we heard, the driver of the vehicle, which incidentally is a Dangote vehicle, so a registered vehicle, logoed, the driver was arrested, one other person too, were now handed over to the Public Security Department, purportedly the police. However, the travelers who included these hunters were the ones that we don't know what happened after that. One variation of the story said there was an argument between the two sides, and one of the hunters, brought out his knife and then attacked one of the vigilante members, and then the rest is history. At the end of the day, 16 of them were incinerated. Now, I want to emphasize one point that hasn't really come out from all of this incident, which is the use of fire to kill an individual from the Islamic point of view. Most persons who are not Muslims may not understand why people from Kano, and Muslims in particular, would be angered to the extent that they are angry about the situation. It's because using fire to kill is something that Islamically is completely disallowed. And so when the images of the incineration of these individuals became public, of course it was viral on social media, it incensed people to that extent. And of course the result is people got angry, and like you rightly said, there was an attempt at reprisal attack. But I must at this stage commend several individuals, starting from the governor of Edo State, Monday Kwegbelo. I think he has done quite well. He quickly returned to the state, visited the scene of the incident, instituted a committee, and from the preliminary report of that committee, he has already taken certain actions, including the suspension of the police personnel who was responsible for that particular vigilante, and the banning of what he has termed as illegal vigilante groups. Let's remember that Edo State is actually a state in transition. Post the election, and this is significant, Sheun, he dismantled the security architecture that he inherited from his predecessor. Now he is trying to create another security architecture, and the process is still in place. So definitely there are gaps, and those gaps perhaps are a reflection of what we saw happening on March 28 last week. It's also a reflection of the hate messaging that has permeated the Nigerian public space. Distrust has reached an extent that is almost palpable. Distrust in public security, where most communities do not have confidence that when they arrest persons and hand over to public security, that aspect, that arm of public security will deal with them judiciously. The other component is the proliferation of vigilante groups across the country. Now, that proliferation has happened without the right framework for ensuring that there is accountability, for ensuring proper training, for ensuring rules of engagement, and for them to understand that they only have the power to perhaps detain and in certain instances arrest, but they do not have the power to judge over the person that they have arrested, which is the extrajudicial killing that we saw in Edo State on March 28. The good thing is, I think, all arms of government have moved almost speedily. Like I said, the Edo State governor, he deserves commendation. The president, too, has acted in that regard. Kano State governor has also acted in that regard. And several groups, the Ariwa Consultative Forum, named them, they've all moved to douse the tension. So at this stage, I'm quite delighted with all of this. But the root causes that led to the issue, I think, is what we need to look at as a country to ensure that there is no repetition. I remind us that on In August 2021, in Plateau State, a similar incident happened. Muslim persons who had gone to, I think, Bauchi State for a religious event were coming back. They were stopped in Plateau State in their bus, and the bus was incinerated in similar manner. So almost 4 years down the road, not much has...
In fact, recently there are those reporters saying that almost nothing was heard about some Ebonyi indigenes that were killed. And in fact, if you go to some part of Delta, and these Ebonyi indigenes or citizens were said to have been killed by alleged Fulani herdsmen or herdsmen. And there are those who are saying that in some part of Delta State that farmers are complaining about insecurity and inability to go to their farms, just like the people of Uromi. By the way, Uromi is the headquarters of Esan local government area in Edo State. So there are those pockets of complaints here and there about the activities of these non-state actors who are keeping them away from their homes. But there's a big question here. Let's look at a few issues. These people must have traveled about over 5 hours from
River State,
from Port Harcourt. Let's assume they
marched from Port Harcourt.
They marched from Port Harcourt. It's about 5 hours plus to Uromi, and from Uromi, it will take you another 12 hours minimum to get to Kano State. So altogether, you're looking about 17 to 18 hours of travel.
And in a truck, Shehu.
In a truck.
That doesn't move.
That doesn't move
that
so
fast.
The question that a lot of people are asking, Uromi route, how do you navigate, or what precipitated or what necessitated the going through the Uromi route from Port Harcourt to Kano? There are those who will say, those who know the route and those who know the area say, look, that is not a usual route for you to go through. And the suspicion now comes from the locals, those who say that they have reasons to justify their actions. The jungle justice, crazy idea, no one should condemnable in any sense. But I'm just picking, these are intelligence that one can put together. What do you make of that?
First off, I think it's wrong to reach conclusions in that manner and then to act on those conclusions. Even if, for instance, let's assume they are suspected kidnappers or whatever criminal activity.
Or bandits or whatever it is.
What does the law provide? The law does not provide that you incinerate them. I think this is what, as Nigerians, we need to
jungle justice.
Our attention. Mob action and jungle justice should be condemnable. With instances, I mean, the young woman in Sokoto State, my state, that was killed over, so-called blasphemy. That's jungle justice, and we all condemned it. So, irrespective of the circumstance, and I've got, the possible reasons why they traveled on that route. The vehicle is a Dangote vehicle. The nearest factory of Dangote on that route is Obajana. So it's possible that they were taking a free ride, going to Obajana, and then from there they will find their way to Kano. It's a possibility. Nobody knows. Unfortunately, now they are not alive to even
be able to tell
their story. But luckily, the driver is alive. So if he's debriefed by the right agencies, they probably would know why he's carried him. There are so many issues there, Shehu. In the first place, why would a documented vehicle like that be carrying passengers? I mean, if I were the CSO of that company, I would be worried to that extent. So there are so many issues that need to be unraveled. Yeah. But I think let's not forget the crux of the matter, jungle justice and mob action. Yeah. It is wrong. It is condemnable. If they were arrested and then handed over to the appropriate security department for investigation, then perhaps we would not be having this conversation.
It brings something also to mind that the agitation in a normal, peaceful atmosphere, people may not have reacted in that manner. Something must have angered them. Perhaps those who say Uromi, as the headquarters of Eastern North local government area, has seen a lot of these activities of these bandits, and that's why they were outraged. No reasons should ever be given for this kind of despicable act of taking laws into one's hand. But the question again is the insecurity that they have mentioned as a reason.
I started by admitting that public security has depreciated in Nigeria to a point that is worrisome. And yes, there are instances of several attacks in Edo State and surrounding areas, and purportedly by so-called armed Hada militias, or some would even, use the word that I really don't like, which is the so-called Fulani armed men. Now, irrespective of who the perpetrator of that attack is, the responsibility of arresting that person lies with our public security departments. And so I think we need to refocus the attention on those public security departments. Why is it difficult to arrest, identify, and arrest the perpetrators of this act?
Police say they've arrested about 14.
Post the incident.
Yeah.
My point is, it's been going on. And amazingly, in the National Assembly, we have video clips of senators standing in the chambers, the hollowed chambers of the National Assembly, recounting and even moving for motions to ensure that the perpetrators of those incidents are arrested, but they were never arrested. And that led to the hatred that I would say, led to what happened on March 28th. So yes, clearly there is an unidentified and perhaps even unaddressed issue, which is the deterioration of public security that is now driving people to self-help. And we must, as a country, be worried about that, because at the end of the day, if profiling and stigmatization is leading to what we saw on March 28, then a lot of us would not be safe. If I'm traveling, as an example, and I look Fulani, and somebody decides to stop me and think I'm a bandit, and then the next thing he incinerates me, what has this country turned to? Or the North now becomes angry and then decides to also target and attack individuals on the basis of their profile or ethnicity. Where are we?
It just brings to mind that the governor immediately had suspended Friday Ibadan, who, by the way, retired as a commissioner of police, but was heading the commander of the Edo Security Corps, and the governor has also disbanded all local vigilance group. And the reason why all these vigilance groups had come up in the first place is because of the insecurity. And in fact, go to every estate in Lagos, in Abuja, estates have developed their own vigilance and security.
We have individuals in Niger Delta that have their own security.
Yeah. Even for some reasons, Nigeria has employed private security to even guard its own pipelines.
Exactly.
So, and how did we get here? Can we solve our problems? I mean, there are those who had applauded the governor because he had moved to site. It's gone to Esso Northeast local government area, precisely Uromi, in the center of where the incident happened, spoken to people. He has gone to Kano State. And there are intelligence to the fact that, Dr. Adamu, there are plans that people were already grouping
for reprisal.
Reprisals.
Yeah, definitely.
And thank God that this being averted and things are dousing, and leaders in and around the states and in the different states are already talking, and this is going to help. Political leaders need to also rise up and ensure that the tension is not is doused. But the big question here: how did we get here? The proliferation of the different security groups. Can we even contain it as it is right now?
We have to move fast to contain it. The law allows for the involvement of certain security structures, but they must be enveloped by the federal security structures, and in this instance, the Nigeria Police Force. So I put a lot of the responsibility on the Nigerian Police Force. We've got platforms, as an example, the Community Policing Framework, which for all intents and purposes, the policy is already 100% evolved. It's been formulated, it's been launched. So I don't know what the Nigerian Police Force is waiting for. All of these organizations should have come under them, and they should have supported in the right manner both in terms of recruitment, in terms of training, in terms of ensuring that the weaponry at their usage and the rules of engagement, making sure, for instance, if they see any crime incident, what do they do? Where does their power start? Where does the power end? Who are they supposed to call? In this instance, we're told that calls were made, but then more than almost 30, 45 minutes into the incident, nobody responded to that extent. So yes, we need to address that issue. Now, that is where the National Assembly comes in. I think as a country, we need to discuss with the speed of lightning, Sheung, the issue of decentralization of security in Nigeria. We're discussing decentralization of policing, but that is just one component. We need to discuss the decentralization of security in Nigeria. At the moment, it remains a federal issue. No law has been changed to allow the decentralization, but the reality is that the decentralization has already happened. So the National Assembly needs to wake up to its call, ensure that we have the appropriate legal systems, appropriate laws that would allow for the creation of this state level and community level institutions. Interestingly, we're about to achieve the autonomy of local governments. And I'm almost certain, 100%, that they will also come into this fray. They would want to play a role in security. We've not guided them to that extent. So the challenge is huge, but we're not addressing the challenge.
I want to actually put you to a task, based on what you have said. And I imagine that when we are in a confused, because I say our security situation in the country is in a confused state. Interestingly, the president had promised in his campaign that he's going to get more boots on the ground. And we've not seen so much of that promise coming to light. And I'm appalled a lot of the times when I see 3-4 people with arms and ammunition guarding one person, when we have real insecurity situation in the interiors of this country, in the borders of this country. I think it's insensible for us as a nation, as a people, when you have 3, 4, 5 people guarding one person and carrying arms and carrying their handbags and all about the places where we really need, in a theater of insecurity or security, as the case may be, we really need people, but then they are doing other things that are less important. And I imagine that sometimes, if you go to other crimes, the reason why people don't commit crime is because they know they will be caught.
As simple as that.
So I think that we need to, deterrence. I think we need to backtrack and build our infrastructure to as a deterrence infrastructure, to say, what can we do to make sure that people think that, because when you get into some facility, they will tell you this place is monitored by CCTV. So instantly you know that you might be caught. Your face is being seen. That deterrence, how can we build an infrastructure such that people know that if you commit the crime, no matter what you do, in some parts of the United States and the UK, you cannot in public place commit crime and go scot-free because you will be caught.
Shehu, in simple terms, and I know this may sound ironic, but let the president implement the contents of the Renewed Hope agenda. The 8 elements.
He has all the solution in it,
He got it.
So why is it not implemented?
Is
it difficult to
I think the
implement?
persons he's appointed, for certain reasons, are being more political than technical. To answer your question as an example, national identification, it's one of the core elements of that Renewed Hope agenda. And true to his word, he moved NIMSI from the presidency to the Ministry of Interior, and we applauded him for that. And today, we've moved up to about 100 million plus persons. So how do we move from that 100 million to a 200 million to ensure, especially target communities where we know crime is emerging from? We need a sociological study to identify those target communities. I don't want to be specific in this regard so that I don't detain and I'm being accusing others of, let me also do it. There are certain groups within the country that we know, for instance, threat elements are emerging from, and incidentally have not been captured under our national identity system. So how do we make sure that those persons are captured in a manner that sounds as if we did it yesterday, not that we're going to do it tomorrow? It is only when we do that, when we provide that platform, that framework that we can now build upon it. If you have the best CCTV system, which, by the way, we've got in certain states, including the Edo State that I mentioned that the governor has, deconstructed certain structures he inherited. One of them is the Command and Control Center. And I'm hoping he's listening to this. I'm begging him in the name of God to go back to that Command and Control Center. I've traveled around the country, around states, and I found that Edo State had one of the best. But I hear that that center has been collapsed. He needs to bring it back. Now, if you've got a command and control center that is effective, but you don't have the identity database to work with, it's useless. So we need to start with that identity database. Start with that. Introduce technology. You've invited 1 or 2 ministers here, and I've heard them speak. They were very political, Sheung. They know the truth, but they are playing with Nigerians. Let them move and implement the content of that document. That document, as an expert, I applauded it, and I will continue to applaud it. Hopefully, 4 years down the road or 2 years from now, we're going to look back and assess the president on the basis of that document.
I do think that if the president is looking for the best opportunity to move into action or the switch into action, I think this is a very good opportunity.
Honestly.
And guess what? It sounds simplistic, but some of the local security that you find in the U.S., in the space of 3-5 minutes, you see those guys in the sheriffs, you see them in their vehicle. Let a crime happen, you will see how they move on the ground. In another few minutes, if it's a federal-related crime, you see the FBI on the ground. You see the state security on the ground, the layers upon layers. And when the autonomy of local government, which is applauded by it anyways, and I think every local government in the space of a few meters can also equip police such that it can move. We do not even have an emergency call number.
One state has it, Lagos State. So perhaps if for those who are interested and are listening to this, go and study what Lagos State is doing.
Even Enugu has created a command and control center that is even affordable. In some of the local government areas. The FCT, I understand that they are creating something like that.
I'm worried about what the FCT is doing, honestly.
I understand that they were creating something like that.
They need to understand it's not about the creation. It's about making sure that the framework
is right.
It supports what they are creating. And frankly, from what I'm hearing, it may not happen. Let me give you an example. 199 or 122. You don't create a center and then you have 11 digits. Number.
No,
who's going to make it? Exactly.
911, anybody calls it.
Exactly. Even a child in primary school can memorize that. But when you have 11 digits.
And we understand that the fire service has the power of law, the force of law to be able to act in emergency. They have been trained for emergency, health, and disaster, and crime. But unfortunately, we have the laws, we have the brains.
Politics is interfering with a lot of things, and I think we need to come back to reality and look at ourselves in the mirror and tell ourselves that this is our country and we must address these issues. The National Assembly needs to wake up, address the existing laws, and make sure they provide us with the right...
If there is a trigger that is needed to take the right action, President Tinubu, you may be watching tonight. I think you've got the right trigger in this particular situation. One in the south, linking the north, the situation that could have caused mayhem in those two states and reprisals. But this is another opportunity for you, President Tinubu, to take decisive action on some of what Dr. Adamu says is a fantastic document that you have. But a document is useless when it's not implemented. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We'll take a break, everyone. But when we return, is it creativity or duplication when you have Southeast Development Commission, Southwest Development Commission, Southside Development Commission, Northeast Development Commission? What exactly are we creating here? What is the efficacy of all of these development commission? Kolawole Johnson is a political and data analyst. He'll be joining us next on the program. Join us again, everyone. So much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. A few days ago, President Bola Tinubu signed into law the Southwest and South-South Development Commission bills into law. And these will bring to about 4 or 5 now of the development commissions in the country. We've seen the NDDC. We're now seeing some regional agencies that are targeted or created with the intentions of dealing with developmental infrastructure and human capital development issues. But will these agencies or commissions be able to do the job or be effective in a manner or what they were intended to achieve? Tonight we'll be dissecting these issues, whether it's duplication of effort or just a duplication of the layers of governance, or what exactly could this mean for a nation that says cost of governance is high. Political data analyst Mr. Kolawole Johnson is live for us. Thank you so much indeed, Mr. Johnson, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I think the only one that is left now is the North Central.
No, they have it now.
So now
it's in place. All right.
So we have 6 completed.
Yes. All right. Yeah.
So we have the regional development commissions.
Oh yes.
But in your own view, there are a lot of people who have criticized the layers upon layers of what has looked like multiplicity of agencies doing. What is the state government supposed to do? Isn't it supposed to be development? Now we are creating these development commissions. Is it duplicity? Extra layer of governance, or what exactly? How would you describe it? Is it a good idea or bad one?
The states you mentioned, in a federal system that we run, you have the 3. You have the federal, the state, and the local government. So these are the units, the state and the local government are the unit that is making up the entire nation, the federal government. Would the development commission be another duplication that may not take us anywhere? I think I may disagree. I think of course, when this government came in, I advocated on this program for a reform in our governance structure. And let me explain. When we got to the present republic in 1999, Nigeria population was barely 120 million. In fact, less than 120 million, because by 2000, we got into about 123 million by the end of that year. And now the population is, projected to be over 100% of that, over 240 million. I don't think we can, we should still stay with the same approach if it's not getting us anywhere. And let's even take it backward. When Nigeria was running the regional government, one of the things that we saw was that each region, developed at their own pace, and we saw competition. And in those days, why do you think they brought that approach to run the government? Those people understood the spatial, cultural difference, the peculiarity of each environment. If you remember, when they got here, they got to the north and they decided to administer via indirect rule. But in the south, direct rule. That was cultural intelligence, looking at the peculiarity of each environment. Now, the regional government also came to be, and you saw what happened in those days. So, even when we were doing that, Nigeria in 1960 was barely 45 million. By 1970 or 1967 when we abolished that, we'd gone above, we had gone above we were about 52 million or thereabout, because by 1917 the population was about 57 million. So if you look at it, when we were fewer, we were doing this deliberately to drive development. But population now, has increased, yet we're trying to run a country as big, as diverse as Nigeria as a single entity. So for me, I think this is one of those reform in the structure of governance that I'm expecting, to run the government. People have advocated for restructuring. This is that, coming in a different model entirely. For me, I think it's a good approach.
So you think that is a good way to go?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But you don't think that it's going to cost us extra to be able to run these in terms of cost of governance? No. We're talking about pruning the number of those who are in government, but we are creating more.
Okay. On this program, if you remember, we were pummeling the government for expanding the ministries. And we gave an example of the Ministry of Youth and Sport that was together. Of course, they used to have a single minister, but later you have 3. The Minister of Sport, the Minister of Youth and State for Youth and all that. So I think what we should address is the bogus ministry, not direct policy that are meant to drive development. I'll give you some few examples. Let's go back to the regions in those days. Take, for example, the Western region. look at the kind of development that took place then. The Liberty Stadium, the 4 stadium built there, not just in Nigeria, in Africa. The present Nigerian Television Authority was then the Western Television, now NTA. It was the very first, not just in Nigeria, yes, also in Africa. The Cocoa House, of course, in Sub-Sahara, then Africa, was the tallest, built by, process from, yes. Yeah. And then, as at that time, the FG had not done, up to 20, scholarship to university students. The Western region did about 200 in a single year. Of course, when they introduced that. Now, that same region introduced at that time free education up to age 18, free health also up to age 18. Now, look at all of those development happening then in the region. So for me, I think if people can own their development, it is part of their approach to modern development. When people can own their development. Take, for example, the Southeast Development Commission will be populated by Southeasterners. Now, you can hold them responsible. They can, of course, it is always difficult for a person to sit in Abuja and know what will work in your village, in my village. But when you have development commissions in place,
so they can localize development.
Exactly.
Or regionalize development.
It is as good as localizing development, because they sit down, they look at the needs assessment and they direct development towards those areas. Now, what I only frown against in those bills is the fact that, for example, you're having a Northeast Development Commission or the South, and you're saying that other regions should have representative. What for? You already have the FG, they have the ministers, So I think we should look at those gray areas. But
and this was a template from the NDDC.
See, they just
copy and pasted.
It is laziness on the part of the drafters. They just copy and pasted this without looking at the peculiarities of each environment.
Because why would you? Okay, well, again, looking at it, Nigeria operates a federal system. Yeah. And if you are creating that, you are literally you have divided the country. There are those who will debate in that sense that, look, let the Igbos run the Igbos affairs. Let the Yoruba run the Yoruba affair. Let the Hausa run the Hausa affair. Okay. Without having the input from across the country. No. Maybe there are those who will debate on that note.
For every policy you see, when issues are not handled in good time and you allow them to dovetail into crisis, there is practically no solution you bring on board that will be waterproof, that won't have some holes. Of course, these can be different. Nigeria is begging for development. You see our deficit in infrastructure. The competitiveness report of the World Bank shows that, I think rank Nigeria as number 130 out of 140 economy. You can't stay at that. You need to drive development. As a matter of fact, we are only covering about 30% of our infrastructural space. As at 1960, when we were driving the government through the regional approach. Now, the urban population of that 45 million number was only about 16%. Yet we're driving the government via the regional approach. Now, the urban population as we speak now is over 70%, based on our own peculiarity. I think we should drive development differently.
I see that South and North Central have been created. Yes. I'm imagining if the South Development Commission is created, what's the place of the NDDC, for example?
No, see, we have clarified this. NDDC is not a regional development commission in that regard. No. Now, due to the activities, see, it's like in Lagos, for example, what is Lagos contributing? Tax, Southeast trade largely, agriculture. Now, when you bring agricultural produce, of course, you pay tax there. Take, for example, the VAT, the VAT noise. Now, if some products are consumed here, it is expected that a part of that should go back to that same place. And the new tax bill, it's even, looking at 50% for them. Now, in the Niger Delta, the activities of the oil-producing companies have rendered the people practically jobless. The waters are polluted, there's environmental degradation, there is health hazard due to gas flaring and all that. So what you're giving back is, how do we now ensure that these people, that the entire, what the activity that is giving the entire country of food, that is giving us income. Now, since it has disrupted their own internal activity, what can we give back to them to ensure that these people do not take into crime, to ensure that those who have taken out of their fishing, businesses are able to have something to survive on? So that is the essence of the NDDC. Then two, you understand that because of these activities also, there are different effects on the environment, ecological and all that. So what NDDC is meant to do is to, cover that gap, and not a regional development per se. I tell you, you have within the NDDC, you have Ondo, for example, as part of, as a member, state. You have Imo, you have Abia. Now that you have Southeast Development Commission and, Abia, Imo, part of that. Now, Abia, Imo, they are also part of the NDDC. Are you saying that they will take part of Southeast Development Commission and also take part of the NDDC? If we think NDDC is only for the South-South? No, it is not. It is for the oil-producing community. It is not for the region per se.
Let's quickly move. Now that we have South-South and North-Central now covered, that's a good way to start, isn't it?
Yes, of course.
And if you look at what has happened, that FG has created all of these development commission for all of the regions.
Yes.
What difference do you think should be expected that this will make?
See, I'm expecting the president to sit them down and put his ideas into them. That this is what I want you guys to go achieve. It shouldn't be business as usual. See, I did my in Southwold, I did my own dissertation on a very interesting topic. I chose it: the factors that are impeding the delivery of governance in Nigeria. I used my own country, as my own case study, and three factors were identified: one, corruption; two, weak institution; and three, poor project management practices. And I tell you, if you can create this, a strong institution, and you are able to, man them with noble people, you are likely to have good project management practices. Now, let me give you an example. The same INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission of Jega, is the same INEC of the man there now. It's the same INEC of Maurice Iwo. What is different? It is the people that you put there. So I'll be expecting the president to ensure that this is not another, place to create money for the boys. It should be a place that he has chosen to drive development.
How do you then ensure that corruption does not kill?
Put internal mechanism in place.
People think that this is a national cake and it's our turn to go and...
Now, when a person is appointed into government in Nigeria, he kills cows, he's celebrating. What do you think he's celebrating? People gather and they party and all of that. It is largely, this person has been given access to national cake. But I think the president can decide to do this differently. For example, I'm looking at a Southeast Development Commission that will be driving industrialization, driving things differently in that place. Those who populate the trade industry in Nigeria, they are from the Southeast. Recently,
very industrious people.
Oh, of course, very industrious people. Now, recently, I think there was a presidential stuff that was done last year, June, on import duty waiver for some product, pharmaceutical especially. What stops the Southeast Development Commission from looking inward and see how they can take advantage, of that to create, clusters?
But you mentioned this, and I would like us to look briefly into some of the functions and some of the areas in some of the acts and the enabling laws.
Okay.
And I'm imagining maybe there could be an agenda that the presidency can set for the different development commission.
Yeah.
Is it possible that we can say Southwest.
Yes.
Can you focus on this area? Southeast, can you focus on this area? Northeast, can you focus on this area? South, can you focus on this area? And at the end of 5-10 years, you would have come out to discover that there is a particular advantage at the Southeast, or there is an exportable product or value that the Southeast, the South can give to the rest of the world, not even only to Nigeria. Is it possible? Can we look at it that way?
Now, we can look at it that way, clearly, but I do not believe in running governance with comparative, advantage approach. I still believe in both comparative and competitive, approach to governance, where Southwest can, look at what are we good at? What do we have? What can,
what can stand us out?
Yes.
What can
stand us out
as a catalyst to propel development?
Exactly, and look into that. But that doesn't mean that if that same, template, if that same environment is ripe also in, say, South, that they can do the same. Take, for example, in the Southwest, Edo State, Edo State has a coastline running over 100 kilometers with a natural depth of about, 15 meters deep. And look at that place. If the Southwest Development Commission, for example, decided to invest in that place to build a port. Now, Ondo has some, offshore oil fields. That place would not just serve the logistics for the oil, but can also serve as a port. And all the contiguous fields that is being served by Lagos and One, they'll be closer to Ondo. Imagine the kind of development that can, that can drive. That won't stop the Southeast also to look at driving the same, the same agenda if they have the environment for that.
Let me ask you. And touching on that,
yeah.
Right? So you go to France.
Okay.
You look at the major, some of the biggest global fashion brands.
Yeah.
They're from France.
Yeah.
Why do you attribute it? Why do you mention Italian leathers when you are talking about shoes?
Okay.
They will market and say,
yeah.
"Oh, Mr. Johnson, is an Italian leather."
Yeah.
Because of the superiority.
Yeah.
And they tell you, they advertise all of these fashion brands to you in France, and the more the money goes to France, But the big question I'm asking here is that the very good leather in Kano,
yeah,
the very good Adire in Ogun State,
yes,
my very good people in Ilorin who weave Ashoke, we are one of the best, and even my village, we are very known to produce okra. Do you believe that my village is known to produce okra?
Awesome.
Is it possible that at the end of the day, the world knows us for specific, tangible values?
See, Nigeria our diversity is what we can explore in this direction. You talk about what we can get from Kano, what we can get from your village, and the market is there. See, when the president is going out to say, come and invest in Nigeria, what is he saying? Largely, what do we have to sell? We have the market right here. And what is killing our economy? We don't have currency problem. It's the economy, it is the production problem. If we're able to produce, relying on on our comparative advantage, each area can look at what do we have that we can do right now. In those days, my village, rubber plantation, was there. We have this in different places. Take, for example, we were talking about producing pencil how many years back? Are we doing that now? Now we talked about toothpick how many years back? And what do you need to produce, toothpick? Bamboos. You have them in the Southwest. So for me, I think before the world, before we go to the world doing us, let's even be able to know that, oh, this product is from Kano, it is leather, this is good. In those days, you can't wear a bashu now, of course, as a big boy in quote. Today, you can wear a bashu. In fact, you go to some market, Aba-made products are even much more expensive than the so-called designers that you bring into the country. Now, I've been in a place where a boss of mine was buying shoe in thousands of dollars. I look at him, of course, there was no way I could afford that. But if you come to some places in Nigeria, you will buy products that is, if not better, as good as that. So I'm saying that what you said, it's good. We can look at our comparative advantage.
And there's always, Mr. Johnson, there is already a template. Go to China.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example.
Yes.
If you go to the Guangdong province, it's the industrial powerhouse of China.
Oh, yes.
Go to Jiangsu province.
Oh, yes.
It's a hub for high-tech manufacturing.
Oh, yes.
Go to Xinjiang province. It's a center for private enterprises.
Oh, yes.
Go to the Shandong province. It's the heavy industry base. Shanghai province is the global financial and industry hub.
Now,
different hubs can be created using this development commission. Say, we give you 3 years.
You get it.
Let us develop and let us start producing.
A marching order.
Don't Mr. Obi's from consumption to production.
Honestly, he can say, okay, Southeast, drive this. Yeah. I just told you about they can go into pharmaceutical product and produce that. Today, you don't need 20 years again to develop a drug. In those days, it was so. But now things are different. You can move. I think it is now simplified. Test tube is there to drive a lot of things now. And, the process, I think from in silico today to in vitro to in vivo can take a very short time. You don't need again. Today there are tubes that you can test the toxicity of any plant substance there without time is always an enemy. We're totally out of time. We needed to even analyze each of these laws, but unfortunately we cannot. But sincerely, I want to support this with all of my heart, and I think we should all also be on the side to ensure we hold them accountable. Let the president not create another political economy or a place for the boys to eat. When the lithium production in some part of the northern state, like Nasarawa, for example, why can't we ensure that we shut down some kind of importation and make sure that we let North Central Development. Why can't we make Adire Ashoke officially the kind of material and whatever? Niger State is kickstarting something for North Central, budgeting over 460 billion naira for agricultural drive. That's massive. If North Central Development Commission can drive agriculture, and what you just said, we'll be fine as a country. Kalawale Johnson, political and policy and data analyst. Thanks so much indeed for an inspiring conversation. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.